Good morning, Math 20-3s. Today we're going to do some word problems. So lesson 4.6. This will be the last lesson of the unit. It will be a bit hard. Your tests won't focus largely on word problems, but there will be a couple. So you will have to, if your hope is to get in that, like 80 to 100% range, these are the types of questions you should be trying to prepare yourself for when it comes to our exam. Let's just get started. So example 1. With word problems, I think it's important that we, especially these first type, where it just kind of gives a bunch of information, I think it's important that we underline things that are important and that we build equations as we read them. So, for instance, it starts off by saying a number. A number is something we don't know, right? We don't know what that number is. So in math, we just call that x. So it says a number is doubled. So that would mean 2 times x. Okay, we have a number and it got doubled, 2x. And then it's decreased by 6. In math, decreased means subtracted and then by 6. To obtain 66, which means equals, right? So that would equal 66. And our goal with these word problems is to take the words and turn them into a mathematical equation. Then we can use our skills from 4.1 to 4.5 on how to solve that equation. So for us, we're trying to solve for x, which is this mystery number, and we need to do that by getting x by itself. So we need to move the 2 to the other side and the 6 to the other side. We do that using opposite operations. So we want to use the opposite operation on the minus 6 first by adding 6 to both sides. That would leave me with only 2x on the left equals 60 on the right. Our next goal is to move the 2 over. We do that by dividing by 2 because 2x means 2 times x, and the opposite of times is divide. So we divide both sides by 2 to get that our mystery number was 30. If what I just did there, if these steps were hard, then you need to go back to lesson 4.4. And that would help you get better at that skill of solving for numbers once you have an equation built. I'm going to be going through those pretty quick today because the focus will be more on building the equations than solving the equations. So solving it was hard for you. I recommend you go back and review. All right. B. So let's start this again. When a number, we don't know what that number is divided by 3. When a number is divided by 3. There you go. Is added to 15. So we added it to 15. The result is 22. That would mean equals 22. And again, we've built our equation. Now we need to solve it. So we built it by reading and then just writing things down as we highlighted and read our words. The first thing we have to move is definitely that to plus 15. The opposite of plus is minus. So we subtract 15. That leaves me with x divided by 3 equals 7. Now we need to get rid of that 3. That's a divide by 3, so the opposite of divide by 3 would be multiply by 3. So those will cancel. And I'd be left with my answer of x equals 21. So that mystery number was 21. All right, let's move on to the next one. So this one, we're going to read it and highlight it and then solve it. So it says the sum. It says the sum means addition. The sum of 2 numbers. We don't know what those numbers are, right? So we have x and y is 46. So we have the sum of x and y is 46. So you'll see we actually have one equation there. And that equation has 2 different letters. It has x and y. So we're not going to be able to solve that because there's 2 letters and only one equation. That's why you'll notice there's a second sentence. And that second sentence will give us a hint about one of those numbers, and we'll use that hint to solve that first equation. So it says one number, let's go with x, means equals 12 more than the other. 12 and then more would be plus the other. So what they're telling us is that this first number x, it's actually equal to 12 plus y. So that means we can go to our equation and we can change that x to be 12 plus y, since we know x equals 12 plus y. By doing that, we now have 12 plus y, and then put in the rest of the equation, plus y equals 46. So I changed this x to be 12 plus y. We now have an equation with one letter, so we can solve for that one letter. Remember that the first thing we want to do is collect like terms if we have two of the same letter. So this would be 12 plus 2y equals 46. Our goal now is to get y by itself. We have to move that plus 12 first, right? That's an invisible plus 12. So the opposite of plus 12 would be minus 12. So we subtract 12 from both sides. That leaves us with 2y equals 34. And then we want to divide that 2 to the other side to get y equals 17. Awesome. That's only the first number, right? The first number we just solved was y equals 17. Now we have to ask ourselves, what does x equal? Well, if we think about the question, we just realized that x is 12 more than y. So if y is 17, x would be 12 plus 17. Our value of x is 29. And those are your two numbers. One is 17 and one is 29. That's up there on the scale of hard questions. Like that's challenging. That's very, very hard. All right, there's one more here. We'll go through it. So again, we'll build it together. It says one number. We don't know that number, so we're going to say x. Is 5 more than another number? Is means that it equals. 5 more would be adding another number. So x equals 5 plus y. This is the same problem we had in the last question. We got one equation with two different letters, so we can't solve it yet until we read our second sentence and build a second equation. It then says 3 times the smaller number. The smaller number here would be y, since x is 5 more than y. So 3 times the smaller, plus twice the larger, plus 2 times the larger number, which was x, is 30, means equals 30. And again, we've got that situation where we have two equations. We're going to use that first piece of information, which told us x is 5 plus y, to change x to actually be 5 plus y. To do that, I then go to that blue equation, and I'm going to change x to be 5 plus y. Notice that I'm using brackets. Those brackets help me to remember that 2 is multiplying. You now have an equation built. You need to solve that equation. To solve that equation, you have to expand that equation. So you're going to multiply the 2 into the brackets. That leaves me with 3y plus 10 plus 2y. And I multiplied that 2 to the 5 and that 2 to the y equals 30. After we expand, we collect our like terms. We have 3y and 2y. Those would add together to be 5y plus 10 equals 30. And now I can begin my process of solving. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. That gives me 5y equals 20. And then I need to get rid of that 5 by dividing both sides by 5. That leaves me with y equals 4. That's only one of the numbers, right? I now know my y value is 4. To figure out my x value, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to realize, well, x was 5 more than y, and y is 4. That means x must be 5 plus 4, which is 9. My two answers are 9 and 4. Awesome. The next part will have to do with the words consecutive. So consecutive means like in a row, right? So an example of three consecutive integers means numbers. Examples of three consecutive integers would be 2, 3, and 4, right? Those are consecutive integers. The way that we represent that without numbers, without just saying like 2, 3, 4, is I would say the first number is x, the next number would be x plus 1 more, and the next number would be x plus 2 more, all right? Those are three consecutive integers. If we wanted to do even integers, we could do 2, 4, 6. Those are consecutive even numbers, right? So they go in a row, 2, 4, 6. To represent that more algebraically, we would say the first number is x. To get the next even number, you would go x and then add 2. And that would get you to the next even number. To get to the next even number after that, it would have been x plus 4, right? Because it would add 2 twice. Awesome. So when we look at a question like number 2, it says the sum of three consecutive integers. Sum means we're adding everything up. Three consecutive integers is x, x plus 1, and x plus 2. So what we need to do is we need to add those things together. So we have x plus 1 plus x plus 2. Right? This is the first number plus the second number plus the third number means equals 126. To solve these, we collect all of our like terms. So all those x's would combine to be 3x, and then plus 3 equals 126. We're going to subtract our 3 over to get 3x by itself equals 123. And we're going to divide both sides by 3. Again, if you're struggling with the solving part to get x equals 41, then go back to lesson 4.4 and just practice 4.4 a little bit more to get a little better at that stuff. So x equals 41. X is the first number in our series. That means the next number would be 42, and the next number would be 43. So our numbers are 41, 42, and 43. Cool. If you do B, it says find three consecutive even integers such that the sum of the twice the first and 3 times the third is 172. This is like a crazy question, right? Like this is crazy hard. So to do this, we have three consecutive integers. So that means the first one would be x. Because these are even numbers, that means the second one is x plus 2. And that means the third one would be x plus 4. Right? Those are our numbers. Perfect. Then they give us a little equation. They say the sum, so we're adding, twice the first number. Okay, so the first number was x. So twice the first number. And 3 times the third number. That's the third number, x plus 4. So 3 times the third number means equals 172. That would be our equation. Twice the first number and 3 times the third number is 172. We built it. To solve it, we're going to multiply this 3 in. That would give me 2x plus 3x plus 12 equals 172. Then I'm going to collect like terms. So these x's will go together to become 5x plus 12 equals 172. We're going to then subtract 12 from both sides to give me 5x equals 160. Then we're going to divide both sides by 5 to get x equals 160 divided by 5 is 32. I know I'm going through those steps really fast. This is a video you're learning from home. So like pause the video, write down the notes, like take your time with it. I'm just going fast because that part of the lesson we should have already been pretty good at. If x is 32, remember that's the first number, right? So if we're looking back up here, that means the first number is 32. The next one would be 34, and the next one would be 36. Right? That's how we would build those even consecutive numbers. So they're even and they go in a row. So 32, the next even number is 34, the next even number is 36. Fantastic. All right, that's hard stuff. Okay, we're going to do some money questions. Again, these money problems are also very hard. Some things we need to realize is that when it comes to money, we have to use decimal places, right? So when they talk about quarter, that wouldn't be 25. That would be 0.25. So we do have to be a little careful with our decimals when it comes to the money problems. If we read this question, it says, Joe has twice as many dimes as nickels. Okay, the value is $3.50. How many nickels does she have? Okay, the total value is $3.50. So we know that Joe has $3.50. We represent that with 3.50. And that's equal to all her money added up. So Joe has some dimes, right? And Joe has some nickels. We're going to start off with the dimes. So dimes are worth 10 cents, which is 0.1. We don't know how many dimes Joe has, but what we do know is Joe has twice as many dimes as nickels. So that means however many dime or nickels there are, she has twice as many of those. So that right there is giving me 0.1, that's the value of a dime, times 2n because she has double the number of nickels in her dimes. Then we need to add up all of her nickels. A nickel is worth 0.05. How many nickels does she have? We're not sure, so we put n. And we've got this equation built right here. Setting those equations up is crazy hard. So you might want to rewind and try to see how I'm building these a couple times because building these ones is hard. Solving them is also hard because we got some weird decimals here. So if we look, the first thing we need to do is multiply that 0.1 into the brackets. That means I have 3.5 equals. If I put 0.1 times 2 in my calculator, so 0.1 times 2, you should get that is now 0.2n. And then plus 0.05n. Awesome. I then collect my like terms. I have 0.2n plus 0.05n. If I add those together, 0.2 plus 0.05 in my calculator, I get 0.25n's. My last step was to get those n's by itself, so I'm going to divide 0.25 to the other side. If you do that, I believe you're going to get 14 equals n. I'm going to just double check that on my calculator. So 3.5 divided by 0.25. Yep, 14. That means I have 14 nickels. That's hard, right? We got weird decimals there. It's a weird setup for the question. It's a challenging question. All of these questions on today's lesson are very hard. All right, B. It says Dan has $425 in his wallet. So that means if you added up all of Dan's money, it would equal $425. The number of $5 bills exceeds the number of $20 bills by 5. So that means I have 5 more $5 bills than $20 bills. How many $5 and $20 bills does Dan have? Okay, let's set this up. It tells me Dan has $425 in his wallet. Perfect. Now in his wallet, he's got $5 bills and he's got $20 bills. Let's start with the $5 bills. So a $5 bill. A $5 bill is worth $5. And we need to multiply that by however many $5 bills he has. We don't know how many he has, but we know it exceeds, that means is more than the $20 bills by 5. So that means however many $20 bills we have, which I'm going to put a T, I have 5 more. So the number of $5 bills is T plus 5. The 20s plus 5 more. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the amount of $20 bills I have. So I'm going to add $20 times however many $20 I have. In this case, I don't know how many I have. I just know that there's T of them. So T would represent the number of $20 bills I have. Perfect. To solve this thing, we need to expand. So we multiply the 5 into the brackets. That gives me 425 equals 5T plus 25 plus 20T. We're going to collect our like terms. I have 5T and 20T. That means I have 425 equals 25T plus 25. I'm going to subtract that 25 to the other side. That gives me 400 equals 25T. I'm going to divide both sides by 25. If I do that, I think I get 16. I do. Perfect. That means I have 16T. T was 20s, right? So if I have 16 $20 bills, I was told that my $5 bills is 5 more. So that means I must have 21 $5 bills. 16 plus 5 equals my $5 bills. That means there's 21 $5 bills. Cool. All right. It's hard, I know. For C, if you want to try C on your own, you are more than welcome to. I'll build it real quick here so you can check your work, but maybe pause the video and try your best. Okay, it says I have a total of $9 in dimes and nickels. The number of dimes I have is 10 more than twice the number of nickels. How many of each do I have? Let's start off with $9. So $9 will equal all my coins added together. Let's start off with our dimes. A dime is worth 0.1. Then I have to multiply by the number of dimes. The number of dimes is 10 more than twice the nickels. So 10 more would be 10 plus. Twice the nickels, that's 2n. That is how many dimes I have. Then I need to add the value of all my nickels. A nickel is 0.05. I don't know how many nickels there are, so I put n. And there's my equation. Again, I'm going to solve this pretty quick. So I multiply the 0.1 into the brackets. That gives me 9 equals 1 plus 0.2n. Then I have the 0.05n after that. I'm going to collect my like terms. These n's can go together. So I have 9 equals 1 plus 0.25n. I'm going to subtract my 1 to the other side because I'm starting to solve now. That's 8 equals 0.025. Sorry, I don't know why I said an extra 0 there. 0.25n. I divide both sides by 0.25. And I should get 32, but I'm just going to make sure it is. So 32 equals n. The number of nickels I have is 32. Awesome. The number of dimes I have. Well, the question told me the number of dimes is 10 more than twice the number of nickels. So 10 more than twice the number of nickels, which we now know is 32. If you put that in your calculator, you'll get 74 dimes. Fantastic. Again, super hard questions, right? Like on your tests and stuff, you won't have a lot. There'll be a few of these, maybe like 2 or 3. I won't overload you with these super hard questions. All right, some shape questions. Example 4, the length of a rectangle is 3 times the width. The perimeter is 96. Determine the dimensions or find the dimensions of the rectangle. So they gave me perimeter. Perimeter is all the way around a shape, right? So if I have a rectangle here, let's draw a little rectangle. Perimeter is all the way around. They also told me that the length is 3 times the width. So that means that when I look at this, I have a width of a triangle, which is W. The length is 3 times that. So it would be 3W, 3 times the width. Awesome. That means this side is also W. This side would be 3W. When they tell me that the perimeter of this shape is 96, what they're telling me is that 96 equals all those sides added together. So that would be 3W plus W plus another 3W plus W. That's all the sides added together. That's what perimeter is. That means what we have really is that 96 equals 3W plus 1W plus 3W plus 1W is 8Ws. And now you have an equation which you could solve for. So to figure out how long W is, you divide both sides by 8. 96 divided by 8 gives me 12 is the length of my W. If I use a little bit of logic, my length is 3 times that. So 3 times 12, which would be 36. My length is 36. My width is 12. All right, last one. We're not going to do these rate problems. I think we've done enough, and this is going to be hard learning from home. So we're just going to do up to here, and then we'll get rid of those word problems. Last one. The width of a triangle is 12 less than the length. The perimeter is 156. Find the dimensions. So again, it told me we have a rectangle. So let's draw this rectangle. That rectangle says that the width is 12 less than the length. All right, I don't know how long my length is, so I'm just going to put L. But my width is 12 less than that. So if I took my length and subtracted 12, that would tell me the width. And now I have my rectangle. This side obviously is the same as the one above, and this one is also the same as the one across from it. It then says the perimeter is 156. That means if you added all these sides together, so if I did L plus L minus 12 plus L minus 12, that's adding all my sides together, it should equal 156. To solve this thing, we're going to collect our like terms. L plus L plus L plus L would give me 4 L's. So I have 156 equals 4 L's. I then have a minus 12, a minus 12. Those collect to be minus 24. Funny looking 24. Let me fix that. Awesome. And you can see we built this equation that we can now solve. We're going to solve by adding the 24 to the other side. That gives me 180 equals 4L. And we're going to divide both sides by 4. 180 divided by 4 gives me 45 is my length. If my length is 45, I can find my width by doing 12 less than that. So 45 minus 12 would tell me my width, which is 33. Fantastic. I think that's a long enough video. Like, I've been going on forever. That's hard to learn this much, especially at home. In class, this already would have been our hardest lesson, probably one of the harder ones of the year. So what we're going to do is we're just going to not do these rate problems. I'll take them off of your test. You don't need to worry about them. If you would like to do them, you are more than welcome to attempt them. If you want to shoot me an email, be like, hey, how do you do those? Then I'll go over them with you if you're just looking for a little bonus, little extra math. If not, that's fine. Like, do your thing. Just do the first sets that we all did together. I hope you all take care. I hope I see you soon. This online stuff is not nearly as fun as being in class with you guys. So take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you soon.